Imagine walking away from a catastrophic car crash without a single scratch because your bones are too thick to break, or absorbing your own twin in the womb and walking around with two completely different sets of DNA. There are people who feel absolutely zero physical pain, others who carry traces of genetic code from our ancient ancestors or even other early species of humans. These are real genetic anomalies that remain unexplained today. Most of the time, our bones are a lot more fragile than we think. But back in the early 90s, doctors met a man who changed everything they thought they knew about human skeletons. This guy got into a massive head-on car collision that should have broken half the bones in his body. Instead, he walked out of the hospital without a single scratch. The doctors were so confused that they took x-rays of his whole body and noticed his skeleton was incredibly dense. It looked entirely different from a normal human x-ray. He tracked down his family and found out that a bunch of his relatives had the exact same thing. None of them had ever broken a bone in their lives. The study simply referred to them as the Connecticut family. Now, eventually, geneticists found a tiny mistake in a specific gene called LRP5. This gene is supposed to control how thick your bones grow, but in this family, their skeletons were up to 8 times thicker and heavier than a normal person's. Sounds like a great thing to have, but it causes some problems. For one, they can't swim. Their bones are just too heavy. Another issue is that as they get older, the extra bone growth can start squeezing the nerves in their skull, which can make them go deaf or lose their balance. But doctors have been trying to study this disorder to see if they can use the gene to help people with weaker bones. If you accidentally touch a hot stove, it hurts badly. The pain is annoying, but it's actually the most important safety mechanism your body has. It acts kind of like a warning system, telling your brain to stop doing whatever it is you're doing that's causing the pain. But there's a very small group of people in the world who are born without this system. They have a condition called Congenital Insensitivity to Pain, or CIP. Growing up with CIP is incredibly dangerous. A normal toddler scratches their knee, for example, they cry, and their parents come over to help. A toddler with CIP won't cry at all. They can break an ankle jumping off a couch and just keep running on it because they have no idea that anything's wrong. Parents of these children have to check on them constantly for bruises and cuts or burns because the kids won't notice them on their own. They can even develop serious infections inside their body, like appendicitis, and never feel the stomach pain that tells you to go to the damn hospital. Scientists have figured out that this happens because of a glitch in the way nerves send electrical signals to the brain. In a normal body, when you get hurt, the nerves send a message saying pain straight to your head. In someone with CIP, the wires work fine, but the plug that connects them to the brain is broken, so to speak. They can feel you touch their hair, and they can tell if an object is hot or cold, for example, but the actual feeling of pain never registers. Do you know there are people walking around right now who have two completely different sets of DNA inside their bodies? They're called human chimeras. This happens at the very beginning of a pregnancy. A mother is supposed to have fraternal twins, meaning two separate eggs get fertilized at the same time. But during the first few days inside the womb, something goes wrong, and one of the tiny embryos absorbs the other one. Instead of one twin dying, though, their cells blend together into a single baby. And when that baby is born, they look perfectly normal, but on the inside, they're essentially two people mixed into one. This can cause some really strange physical traits, though. Sometimes you'll have two eyes that are completely different colors, or a patch of hair on the head that's a totally different texture or color than the rest. Sometimes their skin will have subtle stripes or patches that you can see under special UV lights. But it gets stranger when doctors look at their internal organs. A person might have one kidney with DNA from the first twin and a liver with DNA from the second. This actually caused a massive legal nightmare for a woman named Lydia Fairchild in 2002. She needed a routine DNA test to get government assistance for her kids. The state came back and told her that according to the DNA, she was not the biological mother of her own children. They almost arrested her for fraud until a doctor realized that she was a chimera. The DNA in her cheek swab didn't match her kids, but the DNA in her reproductive organs did. Humans have hair all over their bodies. Most of it's incredibly thin and light, though. But there's an extremely rare genetic anomaly called hypertrichosis that causes thick, dark hair to grow over a person's entire face and body. In the past, people who had this condition were often called werewolves and were used in circus sideshows. Today, we know it's a genetic mutation. The genes that cause this thick, full-body hair aren't missing from your body, actually. You do have them inside you right now. Millions of years ago, the ancient ancestors of humans were completely covered in thick fur to stay warm. As humans evolved and started wearing clothes, building fires, we didn't need the fur anymore, so over thousands of generations, our bodies slowly stopped growing it. The code stayed hidden deep inside our DNA. In people with hypertrichosis, a random mistake during development accidentally flips those ancient genes back on, for lack of a better term. What scientists can't explain is what causes this specific switch to suddenly flip. The mutation doesn't happen because of anything the parents did, and it can appear out of nowhere in families that have no history of the condition. Ectrodactyly is a genetic condition that completely changes how a person's hands or feet develop while they're inside the womb. Instead of growing 5 separate fingers, the bones in the middle of the hand fail to form properly. This leaves a deep V-shaped gap right down the center, making the hand look like it's split into 2 large fingers. It used to be called lobster claw syndrome. This condition is completely unpredictable. A father might have a very mild version where his hands look almost completely normal, but then his child might be born with a severe split in both their hands and their feet. In other families, a child might be born with the condition even though neither parent has it, and nobody in their family tree has ever had it before either. Scientists have looked closely at the DNA of people with this condition and found mistakes on a number of different chromosomes, but they're completely stuck on why the condition changes so much from person to person. They don't know what causes the genetic code to behave normally in one family member and then completely rearrange the bone structure in the next generation. Inside your muscles, you have different types of fibers. Some are built for long distance running. Others are built for quick explosive movements like jumping or sprinting. These are known as fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. There's a specific gene called ACTN3 that's responsible for making a protein that only lives inside those fast, explosive muscle fibers. When scientists went to the Olympics and tested the DNA of elite world-class sprinters, they found that almost 100% of them had a fully working version of this gene. It's what gives them that extreme, explosive speed out of the blocks. Because of this, people started calling ACTN3 the super sprinter gene. But the real strange part here isn't the people who have the gene, it's the people who don't. When scientists started testing regular people all over the world, they discovered that roughly 1 billion people have a total deficiency in this gene. Their bodies don't produce this muscle protein at all. In the world of genetics, if your body completely stops making a major muscle protein, it usually leads to severe muscle diseases. But with this gene, 1 billion people are missing the protein and their muscles work completely fine. They can walk, lift weights, live normal lives without any health problems at all. They'll just never be able to sprint at an Olympic level. Most people need around 8 hours of sleep every single night to feel normal. If you regularly only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, like me, your health will eventually start to take a hit. Obviously, you're groggy all the time, you can't focus, your memory sucks, but there's a rare group of people who can sleep for just 4 hours a night, wake up without an alarm clock, and just feel completely fine. They have full energy all day, they don't need coffee, fully rested. For a long time, doctors thought these people were just kind of forcing themselves to stay awake, making a show of it. In 2009, scientists discovered that this is a real genetic anomaly caused by a mutation in a gene called DEC2. People who have this mutation are aptly named short sleepers. When you sleep, your brain goes through a kind of cleaning process, washing away toxins and resetting your neural connections from the day. For a normal person, that takes about 8 hours, but in someone with the DEC2 mutation, the brain works at double the speed. It can do the exact same amount of cleaning and resetting in just 4 hours. If you took a normal person from a city at sea level, put them on top of a mountain in the Himalayas, well, they'd get incredibly sick very quickly. Because the air is so thin up there, it contains a lot less oxygen. To compensate, a normal human body will start panicking and overproducing red blood cells to try and grab as much oxygen as possible. This makes your blood thick, sludgy, which can lead to altitude sickness as well as deadly clots and strokes. The people who live in Tibet have spent thousands of years living at altitudes of over 13,000 feet, and they're completely healthy. Their blood stays thin, their hearts are perfectly fine, and they can run up mountains that would make an ordinary tourist pass out. Scientists studied their DNA and found out they have a special mutation in a gene called EPAS1, which tells their bodies to keep red blood cell production completely normal. The coolest thing about this gene, though, is where it came from. Scientists have studied the DNA of Tibetan people, and it turns out that this particular genetic mutation didn't seem to come from modern humans at all. Instead, it matched the DNA of the Denisovans, an ancient human species that disappeared tens of thousands of years ago. Researchers think the gene was passed down through interbreeding between the two groups. It's managed to survive all this time in, say, Tibetans, but it's disappeared almost everywhere else. With all that said, that's been the video. I'll catch you, yes, you specifically, in the next one.